On December 9, 2025, EASA issued Airworthiness Directive 2025-0274, and it's a really critical safety update for the entire Airbus A320 family. If you're in maintenance, engineering, or management for these jets, this explainer is for you. We're going to break down exactly what you need to know and what you need to do. So here's how we'll tackle this. First, we'll get into the why, the root cause that kicked this all off. Then, we'll pinpoint exactly which aircraft and parts are affected. After that, we'll cover the really crucial stuff, the actions you have to take and the deadlines you need to hit. We'll also look at the bigger picture for your operations. And finally, I'll make sure you know where to find all the official documents. All right, let's dive right in. What's the story behind this ad? I mean, what's the specific risk that made EASA say, okay, we need to act on this right now? Well, the core issue is a serious one. EASA was receiving reports that engine fire switches were, believe it or not, just releasing on their own, in flight. And you know what that can do? It can lead to an uncommanded engine shutdown with absolutely no pilot input. That's a scenario you just can't have. And look, EASA is not messing around with their language here. They state this could lead to reduced aeroplane controllability. We're not talking about a small glitch. This is a direct threat to flight safety, which is exactly why this directive is mandatory. So, when we talk about an affected part, what are we actually looking at? Well, it all comes down to specific fire panels identified by both Airbus and Safran. It's all about checking those part numbers. Okay, now let's get down to the brass tacks of who and what is impacted. This is where you'll want to have your fleet and inventory lists handy. The scope on this is pretty wide. It covers the entire A320 family. That's the A318, A319, A320, and the A321. And here's the kicker. This applies to all manufacturer serial numbers. There are no exceptions here, so every single airframe is potentially affected. And this is where the rubber really meets the road for your technical teams. Just knowing you operate A320s isn't enough. You have to check for these exact part numbers. This list right here is what's going to drive your entire maintenance plan and compliance strategy. Right, let's talk action. This section is absolutely critical for your continuing airworthiness and planning teams. We're going to get to the specifics of what needs to be done and, more importantly, when it needs to be done by. Now, for the aircraft defined as Group 1, it all comes down to a simple check. You need to look at the part's serial number and see if it's listed in Appendix 1 of the AD. If it's on that list, you've got 6 months to replace the part. No ifs, ands, or buts. If it's not on the list, you have a bit more time, 24 months to get it inspected. So, what if that inspection finds something? There's a very clear 3-step workflow. Step 1, identify any damage as defined in the service bulletin. Step 2, get that part replaced with a serviceable one within 6 months of that inspection. And Step 3, which is crucial, you have to report your findings to Airbus within 30 days. And listen, that includes reporting even if you found nothing at all. Okay, I know a question that's probably on your mind right now. What about the spare parts you have sitting on the shelf? Well, the AD is very clear on this. From December 16, 2025, you cannot install any affected part on any aircraft unless it has passed an inspection first. This is a hard stop to make sure no potentially faulty parts from your stores find their way back into the fleet. So let's zoom out for a second and look at the big picture. What does all this mean from a management and operational standpoint? How does this impact your planning, your budget, and your resources? For anyone in leadership, here are the 4 key takeaways. 1, the safety risk means non-compliance is simply not an option. 2, you've got to segment your fleet now to prioritize those aircraft that need a part replacement in the next 6 months. 3, get on the phone with your suppliers yesterday. You need to secure a pipeline of serviceable parts. And 4, be strategic about scheduling your downtime to get this done without causing chaos to your flight schedule. All right, we're on the home stretch. Let's wrap this up with a clear call to action and point you directly to the resources you need to execute this properly. You know, the bottom line is pretty simple. Full compliance is mandatory, and you have to meet the deadlines. The only way that's going to happen is with rock-solid coordination between all your teams. Camo, planning, maintenance, right through to commercial. Everybody needs to be reading from the same playbook. Now, for all the technical specifications, the step-by-step procedures, your single source of truth is the official EASA document for AD 2025-0274, along with the associated service bulletins from Airbus and Safran that you see here. Make sure your technical library is updated and your teams are working from these exact documents. So we've covered the what, the why, and the how. The final question really is for you and your team to answer. How is this directive going to change your maintenance forecast and your parts strategy, starting right now? That's the conversation you need to be having to stay ahead of this.